scholarship information. The senior newsletter, I am recording this presentation tonight, so the senior newsletter will have the video back in it when it gets to the financial aid section, so you can reference that in some of the handouts. Okay, so at our school website, if you go to departments and academics, and then scholarship information, this is where I place all of our scholarship information at. If you're in need of a high school transcript to be sent, this is also where you request a transcript to be sent to a college or university. This would be an official transcript. If you need an unofficial transcript, there's a little tutorial there to show students how they can access their own transcript through their Ed portal in PowerSchool. Okay, so scholarship information, this is a website Mrs. Holland helped put together a few years ago, but it has a lot of different things in it, some different search sites you can use. Central Cast Dollars for Scholars, start your profile, along with some deadlines, videos on how to do that. And then as we go down the page, this is the area scholarship list where I put the local scholarships that are sent to us, to Central Cast, and some of the other more local area scholarships, as well as a scholarship tracking spreadsheet too. So those are some things, when you start applying for scholarships, it starts to get big fast. So it's always good to try and stay organized, find your system. If you like Excel sheets, if you like a notebook, whatever you do, a Word document, whatever you can do to keep organized is going to help you keep track of those important deadlines. Then our area scholarship sheet, just so you can see how it's organized even further. All the scholarships are down here on the tabs at the bottom, and they're organized by when they're due. So each month has a different set of scholarships and links, live links to them, with different deadlines, okay? So if you're starting to plan ahead and you want to print these sheets off, you certainly can, but all of these have a live link where you can click in and find the scholarship in the application. As you go a little bit further, where it really hits heavy for seniors and scholarships is probably in this January, February, March, April month. But some of the ones that you'll notice, I will highlight yellow like this to draw your attention because that is specifically for a Central Cast student, okay? There's a few other ones in here as well. Any questions about that at all? If you need help finding it, you absolutely cannot find it, come see me. I'm very happy to help with all those things. Okay, so that's that's our site. Down below is the senior newsletter, so if you can't find that link, this will take you right back to your senior newsletter, which is where I will update this video for financial aid. Okay, and everything kind of loops back around together. This one is a little more extensive with some information that might help you with your planning, wherever you're at. Okay, so with that, I will turn the microphone over to one of our speakers tonight. We have with us Janelle Stahl with the Central Cast Dollars for Scholars, and she's going to walk you through some information that's about Central Cast Dollars for Scholars and your application.
Thank you. Okay, I am Janelle Stahl. I am the current president of Central Cast Dollars for Scholars. I don't know if you've heard of us or not, but I hope you have. Just a little background is Central Cast Dollars for Scholars was founded in 1990, and since then, with our 2025 grads, we have given out 1,002 scholarships with a total of $1,129,475. So it's quite a feat, I think. If you haven't started your application or anything yet, but you're working on it. I hope you all are working on it. Yeah, sure, we'll get there in a second. But every Central Cast senior that applies for a scholarship through Central Cast Dollars for Scholars will receive one. So everyone that applies by the deadline, which is April 1st, will receive a scholarship. So it doesn't matter what your GPA is, it doesn't matter what activities you're in, anything like that. Everyone that applies by the deadline will receive a scholarship of some sort. So, a little tip. So we have here. So this is like some information as to instructions as to how to apply, and at the bottom there, if you haven't started this yet, if you scroll down, it'll say click to log in. So that's where that's where you log in, and if you haven't started your profile yet, that's where you'll like start the account or whatever. But I'm really hoping that every high school student has started an application. So even in 9th grade, students can start working on their profile, start working on entering all the information, and if you start in 9th grade, then you won't forget as many things. So the more information you enter will make your score better on your scholarship application, which will make you get more money. So that's just a little tidbit there. So if you are, I always use this example, but if you are a football player and you are a captain or you made All-State, you should put that you were in football, but you should also put that you were a captain, and you should also put that you made All-State. You should also put that you were at the Squirrel Award and that you were Rookie of the Year or whatever it is. All those awards matter. So if you're like an FFA and you hold a secretary position or a treasurer position, make sure you add those. All the things, all the little details really matter, because the more things you add, the better your score, the more money you will get. Our top scholarship will be $6,000, so that's a huge amount, and that'll really help with college. So, the scholarships are awarded in May at awards. It's called convocation, so that's in May, and that's when everyone will walk across the stage, and it's really fun for me to give out like $70,000 to $80,000. So I hope you all apply so we can give you some money that day. Okay, so application scoring. So I just wanted to kind of, does anyone have any questions on that? Like anything I can clarify? Make sure you apply by the deadline. More information, the better. Okay, if you do, I think my email address is maybe not on there. I don't know. But it doesn't. You just ask Krista. Or Mrs. Ziegelman. I'm sorry. She can get you my email address, and if you have questions, just please let me know. Yeah.
After you make your profile, are you done, or does that just match you to the scholarships that you can?
Okay, so yes, there's a couple different things here. So Central Cast Dollars for Scholars gives out all these scholarships, but it also matches you to scholarships with Scholarship America. So once you fill out your profile, like you will follow the instructions that were there for the Central Cast Dollars for Scholars, but there's also other scholarships that you can apply for through the Scholarship America website. So that profile will go not only to the Central Cast Dollars for Scholars application, but other ones that you will match to. So they will say, oh, you did this, maybe you're a match for this scholarship. So fill it out, but then you can apply for other scholarships through the same website, through Central Cast Dollars for Scholars, like the state and the National Scholarship America. Yes, and it's not only for high school seniors, but it's also as Central Cast Dollars for Scholars, we do some continuing education scholarships. So like this year we'll be giving out four scholarships in December for students that are currently in college. So it's not just for high school seniors, it's also for beyond while you're still in school. Oh. Okay, perfect. Any other questions about that? Yes?
Is there still like a parent verification after they get logged in or anything, or do they do away with that?
There's no parent notification.
We did away with that one. Yep.
I don't know what you're talking about, so.
Yep.
I
Didn't want anybody to miss it if it was still there.
Yep. But when you do submit your application, you should get an email that says your application's been submitted. If you don't get that email, it may not have been submitted. So check with Mrs. Ziegel, or check with me if you have email address, which you get from Mrs. Ziegel. But yeah, so just make sure that's submitted and make sure you get the return email that says it's been submitted.
Is it best to use your school email address?
No, do not use your K12.nd. whatever address. Use a personal email address. So your Gmail, if you're like me, your Hotmail account, that dates me. But if you use a personal, then you'll still have access to it once you graduate. Because once you graduate, that K12.nd.us email address will no longer be free. Okay. Also, so these scholarships and the money that fund these scholarships don't, I'm just gonna give a little plug here, but the money just doesn't grow on trees. So, every year we have a big fundraiser, which is our biggest fundraiser of the year, called the annual Dollars for Scholars Live and Silent Auction. This year it is December 6th, it's out at Lone Oak, and it's a super fun event, and I really hope that we get some parents that would love to join us there. Tickets are $50, and you can get them at this QR code there. $50 and, excuse me, with the $50 you get transportation out to Lone Oak. So there's a bus that goes from Castleton out to Lone Oak, and then after the event back to Castleton, leaving from the Red Baron. And you get the transportation out there, there's good food out there, like it's really good food. It's better than like pulled pork. So you get 2 drink tickets. This year we have a hypnotist coming, so we have some entertainment. I promise you don't have to be hypnotized. You can just watch all the others. Whoever volunteers, it'll be fun. And there's also entry into a grand prize drawing, which is $1,000 to area gift, $1,000 in gift cards to area businesses. So you don't need to be present to win. So if you buy tickets and you can't come, we would love you just to buy tickets as like a donation to Dollars for Scholars. You can also follow Central Cass Dollars for Scholars on Facebook and Instagram to get more details about all that. And then there's also like, we always post reminders about deadlines and who's getting, after the scholarships are awarded, your kid's picture will be on there. We want to follow up. It'll be fun, I promise. Okay, and then this year, this is kind of something new. We have a couple DECA students that are helping us with marketing or promoting awareness for the auction. So there is, our whole board doesn't even know this yet, but I'm going to give you a little insight. These DECA students are helping promote the auction by doing a contest with seniors. So every senior will have an opportunity to sell tickets to our Dollars for Scholars auction. The more tickets you sell, the better, because if you sell at least 15 tickets and you sell the most tickets, you will get awarded an additional $500 scholarship at convocation. So you can sell to, your family, your mom and dad's friends, teachers, anyone that works at the school, and if they buy a ticket, they have to enter your name, your seller's name, on our ticket website, and your name will go in. So the more times your name gets put in there, the better chance you'll have at winning this additional $500 scholarship. Did I say you have to sell at least 15 tickets, and whoever sells the most gets that scholarship. This will be announced probably later this week. Carter Nelson and Grady Mueller are heading this up, so they're gonna try to do a meeting during lunch sometime this week to announce the contest, give you a flyer about it, give you a letter to take home to parents so that they have the QR code and things like that. Okay, any other questions? We'd love for you to come to the auction. Another thing about the auction is we always put our seniors' pictures on the tables, because those are the ones that we are supporting this year. So in a bit, like a month or so from now, I'm going to be sending an email to all the senior parents asking for you to send me a senior picture so that we can print them and put them as our table decorations, as who's we're raising money to support for this year. But it doesn't go just to seniors. All the money that comes in will also go to all the students coming up. Class sizes are getting bigger, so we need to be able to fundraise more money so that we can support those larger class sizes. Okay, any questions? Let me know if you do. It's cchsdfs@gmail.com is the email. If you have a pen and paper, you're probably not writing that down. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. So seniors, you'll get a chance to work on your application. We have a college application day coming up October 21st, where you'll have help applying to a college, and then you'll also have time to start on your Dollars for Scholars application. So those are the 2 things we'll do that day. Okay. Without further ado, I will welcome Corey here from NDSU. He's going to give you the financial aid presentation, so I will turn it over to him.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Corey Schlack. Like Trista said, I feel like you already got a lot of good information. The fact that there is a guaranteed scholarship if you do the Central Cast Dollars for Scholars application, that's pretty awesome. I love that you asked the question about what email address to use, because in general, if you are a senior right now and you're applying to colleges and doing different things, you should never be using your high school email because that's going to be deactivated. And what Janelle was saying, oh yeah, like your Hotmail or something, ooh, that dated me, that instantly gave me flashbacks of what my Hotmail was. Because back when I did this, remember, like email was just for fun. Disco Stud 15. Yeah, that's that's what everybody, but mine was tame too, right? And also, Trista having that huge comprehensive list of scholarships, I feel like that just deserves a round of applause. Like that is so huge and cumbersome. Yeah. So one of the things that Janelle said on the Dollars for Scholars application that's really nice is that, when you look through Trista's list, not only is it cumbersome for her, but it's cumbersome for you too, because you have to figure out like which ones you should or should not apply to based on what you're going into, where you're going, all those different things. But if you do that Dollars for Scholars general application of the profile, what Janelle was saying is that just doing that can put you into consideration for scholarships, but also it will link you to other scholarships that you're likely eligible for based on what you put in your profile. So that reduces a lot of the work. Now, the profile does take a while. I would say it probably takes about 45 to 60 minutes, depending on how much information you want to put in there. But again, it's going to reduce some of the searching that you're going to have to do. And one of the things that a lot of colleges try to do as well, so NDSU, UND, MSU, and other places, we try to have a general scholarship application that works kind of similarly. If you just do the general scholarship application, you get entered into a bunch of ones you don't have to do anything else for, but then it also matches you with ones that maybe require an additional supplemental question or essay response. So to get into my presentation, like I said, my name is Corey Schlack. I'm an admission counselor at NDSU, and most people don't know what admission counselors do. So I always like to start with this first, because almost every college has admission counselors. We're very similar to high school counselors, but instead of helping with the high school process, we're here to help with the college process. So oftentimes this is first helping students get admitted to colleges, helping students figure out what kind of career or major they might want to pursue, helping students figure out how much is college going to cost, helping students figure out how are you going to pay for those things with financial aid and scholarships. It can go beyond that too. It's where are you going to live, who are you going to live with, how do your college credits transfer in. So in all reality, admission counselors are here to help you from right now all the way until you start college. And then after you start college, you switch. You stop working with your admission counselor. Instead, you start working with an academic advisor who is a specialist of your specific program and will help you with picking your courses and degree planning and internships and all those different things. So just a little sampling of the support that you have right now and support that you have in the future. Today, of course, I'm here to talk about financial aid and to help you with these things. I gotta say, I always love coming to Central Cast because I love being in this auditorium. I like that they turn the lights down. It feels like I'm doing a TED Talk, which is great because this is the most exciting topic there is, financial aid. And I can tell you're all excited because you're all on the edge of your seats. Yeah, no, I mean, it's not that exciting, but it's important as a testament to all of you being here. Now, just quickly, just to get an idea, can you raise your hand if you're a senior? I'm just curious how many seniors we have in here. Wow, we got a lot of seniors in here. That's awesome. You should pat yourself on the back because most seniors wouldn't come on to this, right? But this is important though. It's important. So I'm not just here to talk about the FAFSA. I'm going to give you a general overview of things. Ultimately, what I want to do is I want to try to give you ways and opportunities to gain financial resources to help pay for college, reduce and minimize the amount of debt that you're going to walk away with. That's my goal today. Okay, and some of that is the FAFSA, but other parts are scholarships and other things as well. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a high-level review, which will answer probably 97% of the questions that are out there. Some of the other questions might be more minuscule, and those could never be answered in a presentation. It would require like an individual conversation or to connect you with financial aid directly to go over some of those unique situations. So we're going to talk about total cost. We're going to talk about the bottom line, what you're actually going to pay after you look at the price tag and then you apply scholarships and financial aid and all those things. What are you actually going to pay at the end of the day? We're going to look at the sources of financial aid, scholarships, grants, loans, all those different things. And then we're going to go over some frequently asked questions, and then I'll turn it out to you to ask your questions as well. So, first things first, This is not specific to NDSU. I mean, these numbers are specific to NDSU, yes, but I know that not every student is planning to go to NDSU, and that's okay. I'm just here from NDSU. I'm putting up numbers to give us a general ballpark of what it costs to go to college, right? That's what I'm doing here, okay? So, you know, this is obviously NDSU's cost, but you're probably looking right around $25,000 to $30,000 a year if you're looking at, you know, your tuition, your student fees, your housing, your meal plan, a parking pass, all those different things. That's probably about the cost that it is right now, depending on which college you're going to go to. Okay, so I just put that up there so we can have a ballpark of what things are going to cost. But is that what you're going to pay? Probably not, because you're probably going to qualify for some scholarships, and you might qualify for some financial aid, and you might qualify for some different loans, or you might choose to take out some loans. So what is your bill actually going to be after you apply your scholarships, your financial aid, and your loans? Well, it could look like this, right? Your bill could be $23,000 initially, but then you have $5,500 in financial aid. So that means that you're not going to be cutting a check for $23,000. It would be more like $17,500. Okay, so that's what we're really going to kind of focus on. And part of the reason why I always want to focus on that number is because the cost of college can vary wildly, depending on which college you're looking at, right? Some colleges are going to cost this, and some colleges are going to cost you about $100,000, right? When I was your age, or when I was the senior's age, right, when I was rocking Disco Step 15, right, I looked at two colleges, and those were the only two colleges I was going to go to. It was University of Miami or the University of Hawaii. Those were the only two colleges I was going to. And then it wasn't until about June, after I graduated, that I realized I didn't have enough money to go to either of those, because back in the day it was $35,000 a year to go to Miami. Account for 20 years of inflation, it's about $1 million a year now. No, I'm just kidding. It's about $75,000 a year, and I can afford that, right? But again, we're looking at kind of that bottom line. Now, here's where the biggest focus of today's presentation is. Where do you get the financial aid? Where do you get scholarships? Where do you get grants? Where do you get some of these resources to put everything together to try to minimize the amount of debt that you or your student is going to walk away with? Well, there's really these 6 buckets, okay? And I encourage everybody to look at these buckets in reading order, so top left, then all the way down to the bottom right last. We're going to turn over every one of these buckets and exhaust every resource before we get to the end, right? Loans are a reality for a majority of students, but of course we want to try to reduce the amount of loans, which is why we're going to turn over all those buckets first, and then if we have to, we will go to the loans, okay? So, where do you get these things? Well, let's look at these individually. The first one is the federal one, okay? Raise your hand if you've heard of the FAFSA before. Okay, looks like a majority, although half of the hands are like this, so like you've only heard of part of it. Like you've heard of FAF, you just haven't heard the SA yet. Right now, FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, right? Is this a requirement to go to college? No, it isn't. You don't actually have to do this, but every person in my position would say you should do it. If you think you might take out any loans at all, then you absolutely should do the FAFSA, okay? But if you do the FAFSA, this is the only way to be considered for these 3 types of resources: grants, work study, and federal loans. Grants are the best. Grants are like scholarships. It's money that's free to you, it's gifted, you don't have to pay this money back, but it's all dependent on your financial need as a family, okay? When it comes to federal grants, which we'll talk about in a second, there are state grants too, but when it comes to federal grants, the threshold of your income and your assets has to be pretty low to qualify for a federal grant. When you hear people saying, I didn't qualify for anything with the FAFSA, what they're really referring to is the federal grant. They didn't qualify for a federal grant when it came to the FAFSA, because everybody will at least qualify for the loan, which we'll talk about in a second, but that's the grant. Grant can be very substantial. That's a difference maker for students who do qualify for it, because it can be up to about close to $7,500. That's quite a bit. If you qualify for that, you're also going to qualify for the Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, which is another $600. So you're basically at about $8,000 if you qualify for a full Pell and the SCOG grant. And at NDSU, if we just go back real quick, when you are going to colleges that cost, roughly this amount, right? UND, MSUM, that $8,000 goes a long ways, right? Versus bringing it to like Miami like I wanted to. Work study is another form of financial aid, but this one's very convoluted. Here's what I usually say. If you want to work on campus, your colleges are going to have a job for you. At NDSU, for example, we have over 1,000 jobs that students work. So if you want to work in Bison Athletics, you want to work for the dining center, you want to work as a tour guide, you want to work in the wellness center, you want to work in IT or the union or the bookstore, we have a ton of jobs for you. You do not have to qualify for work study if you want to work an on-campus job. Long story short, what work study does for students who do qualify for it is any of the money you work for and you get paid in work study funds, it doesn't count as income for you when you do your next FAFSA. So let's just pretend you made $100,000 in work study, which you never could. Like the most students will make is like $4,000. But let's just pretend you made $100,000 in work study. That doesn't count towards your income on the next FAFSA. So it doesn't hurt you by doing more work. It doesn't hurt you because you're making more money and all of a sudden now you don't have income eligibility anymore. Loans are the last one here. And I know I said we talk about loans last, but I'm just going to put this out there because the federal loans are typically the best option of loans. They're going to have the lowest fixed interest rate. They're going to have the most flexible repayment plans. And they're only in the student's name. So if you're a parent or a guardian and you're like, I can't put any more loans on my name, I won't do it, right? These loans are only in the student's name. So that's one of the big perks when it comes to federal loans. What do you need to do to be considered for these three things? You have to do the FAFSA. Now, Tristan and I were just talking about this. Typically, the FAFSA opens on October 1st every single year. But Tristan was like, I heard that the FAFSA open right now. I was like, no way. And I pulled up my phone and I looked at the website and lo and behold, yes, the FAFSA for 2026, 2027 is now open so you can actually do this. How do you do this? There are some really good, useful YouTube videos. They also just, on their FAFSA website, when you go to create your account, they'll have you watch some videos if you have the patience to watch them. They're like 2 or 3 minutes. They're not long. But here's what I encourage you to do. One, if you are a parent or guardian here and you did a FAFSA at some point in time in your life, and it was like a digital one, you likely have an account. Do not make a new account. Try to find your old account. You can put in your phone number, your social security number, all those other things. Recover your old account. Don't make a new one. Otherwise, there's going to be a duplicate in the system, and they're going to have to try to sort out who you are and where the random person from Russia is trying to hack the system, right? Try to recover your original account. But if you're a student, the first thing you need to do is create your account. You're going to need your social security number when you do this. If you are doing this and you are going to invite your parent, or they'll call you a contributor because some people are parents, some people are guardians, and some people are, next of kin, you're going to need their social security number as well. That's one part that always trips students up when they try to do their FAFSA at school or something. They don't have their parents' social security number. So that's one thing you'll need too, because you're going to be inviting them. And you're inviting not only their name and their email, but also their social security number to make sure that you're getting the correct person to be seeing all of your financial information. But those are the things. Student will create an account, and then they'll go into their digital FAFSA and they'll complete their portion. They'll get to the contributor portion. They'll add in their contributor, add in their information, and then they'll click sign and submit, and it will then ping whoever that contributor is, whatever the email is that they listed in there. And then that person will say, oh, hey, somebody listed you on the FAFSA to complete your portion. And you'll go there and you'll log into your account after you've recovered it or created your own account. And then you'll be invited to complete your portion of that digital application. You'll sign, submit, and then boom, it's all done. Goes to the federal government, Department of Education will review it, and then send it out to the colleges that you chose to have it sent out to. Sounds kind of complicated, but it is, they've streamlined it quite a bit over the last couple of years. I have helped some students complete their portion of the FAFSA in like 3 minutes. The longest part was the account creation. That sometimes takes maybe like 10, 15 minutes when they're trying to figure out what their password's going to be and they're trying to set their security questions. Like those things take a little bit of time to figure out, but the FAFSA for students has been incredibly quick for some of them. The next bucket is the state. And fortunately, when it comes to the state, doing the FAFSA will put you into consideration for many of the state things as well. And specifically, grants. So we talked about that federal grant having a threshold of income that's kind of small. Well, the state threshold of income is probably 3 to 4 times higher than that to qualify for the state grant. So you might not qualify for the federal grant, but you may still qualify for the state grant. And if you do, that one is $2,750 every single year. If you qualify for both that and the federal, now you're at $10,750. You're already at about 50% of the total cost of everything at a college like NASU or MSUM or something like that. Now, the thing about state things, the state grants, state scholarships, things that come from the state, they're there to incentivize you to stay in state, right? If you're gonna be the next nurse, or you're gonna be the next engineer, you're gonna be the next ag econ, or you're gonna be the next teacher or something, right? You've been at Central Cass for a while, right? And they're like, hey, we want you to stick around. We want you to get a job here. We're gonna help you if you stick around here. And if you go to a North Dakota college, then well, you're more likely to get a North Dakota job in the future. So what I mean to say is that grants and scholarships that come from the state, they only stay here. You can't take them out of state, right? Again, it's an incentive. Other states have this too. Minnesota has this. Florida has this, Hawaii, they all have, they're trying to keep their students in state too. But grants, and then the next one is the scholarship. Now the scholarship that's offered from the state, there's a few of them actually. The one that you're probably most familiar with is technically called the North Dakota Scholarship. Oftentimes gets referred to as the Choice Ready Scholarship. This used to be called the North Dakota Academic Scholarship or the North Dakota Career Technical Education Scholarship. They've had a lot of naming problems. It's the North Dakota Scholarship now. But anyways, that one, if you qualify, which if you use Power School here, you can go into your Power School and you can see if you're on track to qualify for this scholarship. If you get that one, it's $1,500 a year, every year for up to 4 years. Again, in state. There is the dual credit scholarship. That one you have to attend North Dakota school, you have to have attended for at least 1 semester, but if you did dual credit previously and you paid for it, you can get $750 back for that one. There is the North Dakota the North Dakota Scholars Award. Now this one, not a ton of people will qualify for this one. This one is if you're in the top 95th percentile of ACT test takers and you did it in your junior year or I think before July 1. So this is really like if you have a 33 or 34. 34 ACT, you're pretty much guaranteed. If you're at a 33, about 50% of those students will get it. But this is full tuition, all 4 years, if you go to a North Dakota college. And that stacks on top of that North Dakota scholarship that I was talking about as well. So there's some good scholarships that come from the state, but again, they're here to incentivize you to stick around. So what do you have to do? You gotta submit the FAFSA, you gotta submit the scholarship application. So if you want to qualify, or if you do qualify for that North Dakota scholarship, the one that's $1,500 a year, you still have to submit the application, and that's due by June 1st, I believe, is June 1st. So you have to get that in, and they're pretty picky about that, so make sure to get that application submitted. A lot of students just think that it's a guaranteed thing. It is, but you have to submit the application. And if you qualify for the North Dakota Scholar Award, that's that full tuition one, you gotta let them know you plan to stay in state. Otherwise, they will say, okay, you're not coming. They'll cross you off and they'll give it to the next person in line. That's why about half of the 33s are gonna qualify for that one. Okay, next up, your scholarship bucket, which we've already discussed the state one, but now let's move into the university one. Universities are trying to recruit you to come to their university, and one of their best recruitment tactics is by offering you scholarships. So many universities are going to have some guaranteed merit-based scholarships. Typically, if you just Google their website, you look at scholarship tables, you can see what you're eligible for based on your GPA, or your GPA and ACT, or your GPA or ACT, some combination of those things. And you can see what you're going to be automatically guaranteed. But a lot of them also have additional scholarships that are going to require you to do a little bit more. And I was kind of alluding to this earlier by NDSU having this general scholarship application. If you do that, then you're entered into about 95% of the scholarships that you could be offered because we auto-match you to ones based on what you put in your application. And then you're going to see a couple more scholarships that are listed that require you to do like an essay response. And if you want to take the time to do that one, well then you can be considered for that scholarship as well. I used to say during this presentation that everybody in the audience is always wondering, like, where are the full ride scholarships? Where are the full ride scholarships? And I would always say there really aren't full ride scholarships outside of, in all reality, athletics. Most full ride scholarship students talk about are actually, maybe they got a full tuition scholarship, but it doesn't cover housing or meals. And typically what people do is they start to stack scholarships together. They do the scholarship application at NDSU, and while they're waiting for that, they know that they're going to be eligible for the North Dakota scholarship for $1,500. They do the Dollars for Scholars application. They pick up a $2,000 scholarship there. Then all of a sudden they know that they got the $3,000 scholarship at NDSU, the guaranteed one. Then they pick up another scholarship. They just keep stacking and stacking and stacking to the point where now they've covered a majority of their bills. Well, I say that, I also now can't say that anymore because NDSU does have a full ride scholarship now. It's just throwing me off a lot. But we do have a full ride scholarship now that you have to do the scholarship application again to be considered for that one. But anyways, when it comes to the priority of which scholarships you should be applying to first, right? Because as Tristan was saying, there's a lot of scholarships out there. It can be kind of confusing, you can get overwhelmed. I will typically say you want to apply to the university scholarships first, because in general, they're going to have an earlier due date than others will. A majority of the Dollars for Scholars applications are due on April 1st. At universities, most of our applications are due on February 1st. So you want to get those ones in first, because if you miss that window, then you're not going to be considered for the university scholarship. So typically, we prioritize those ones. With the exception to the tabs that Trista had that said September, October, November, December, of course, all of those ones are due before. But typically the university ones, because the universities, again, they're trying to recruit you. The sooner they give you a scholarship, the sooner you might say yes to that university or another. You also have a lot of local scholarships, and those ones are going to be the ones that Trista has listed for the most part on her website, in her spreadsheet. We have private ones and employer ones. So again, kind of turn over all of these stones just to see where you might be able to find additional dollars. So what do you need to do here? Well, you need to find eligible scholarships and then submit those scholarship applications. So as an example, you will see some of these types of scholarships at different universities. This is NDSU's guaranteed merit-based table. GPAs up there, a 3.0 or higher GPA is guaranteed a scholarship. Now, that's the minimum scholarship amount you're going to receive over on the right-hand side. If you choose to do the scholarship application, you may very well find yourself receiving a larger scholarship than that. Instead of $2,000 a year, you might get $4,000 a year. Or you might get $2,000 a year, but you get an extra $3,000 stacked on in your first year. So if you do the scholarship application, that's your best way to see if you can get some additional scholarships to help pay for your college. As I was saying before, NDSU's scholarship application deadline is February 1st. UND's is going to be February 1st as well. A lot of colleges share some of these similar deadlines of February 1st. Okay, the next bucket is the employer bucket. And so this kind of goes two ways. One, if you're a parent or guardian who has a student who's going to be going to college, your place of business may provide some type of tuition assistance or tuition scholarship or something for your dependents. It's worth checking with your HR department to see if they have any of these things. I mean, the easiest example is if you work for an NDSU or the North Dakota University System, well, you're going to get half tuition, right? But there are other places as well. But as I've seen, more and more places that students work may also provide some type of tuition assistance. I have a few students that work at FedEx at the airport. They get up early, they go up there and they pack planes with boxes, but they get $3,500 a year to help them with their tuition on top of their pay. Right? We have students that work at Marvin or at Amazon. I was at Dairy Queen the other day and they just had a piece of paper slapped on the wall that said $1,000 tuition assistance. I'm like, is this fake? It was in pen too, I'm just kidding. But they had it up there, they had to sign there, $1,000 tuition assistance. So it's worth checking for jobs that may be able to provide some additional assistance beyond just the wage that you get. So what do you got to do here? Well, talk with your employers, look for jobs that are student-friendly and jobs that can provide some tuition assistance, help with college, and then submit those applications. All right, 2 buckets left. This one is the personal bucket. And this one might sound really obvious, like, well, duh, I can pay for college if I have the money. That's not the reason I came here, right? But this is an important bucket. A lot of times, we'll do financial aid consultations for students every summer during orientation. And these typically happen in June or July or August. And I can't tell you the number of times I'm doing a financial aid consultation with a student in June. And we're like, hey, so this is what you have in financial resources, and this is what your remaining bill is going to be. Are you working a summer job? Okay. Do you make enough money to put some money away? Okay. How much money do you legitimately think you could put away to help pay for your college? Because if not, I mean, like, this is what you have left to pay. And unless you have somebody who can pay this, right, that's probably going to be the loan you're going to have to take. And a majority of students that I'm talking with are like, I think I can put away $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, right? In just those 3 months. Well, right now, it's not even October yet. You still have, for the students in the audience here today, you still have about 10 months to maybe put a little bit away. Because again, every month that you can put away right now is just a smaller loan later on, right? So really plan ahead in this one and try to figure out, like, what is my bill going to be? How can I reduce what I'm going to have to take out in loans, right? And the last one is the loans, okay? We've already talked about federal loans. Now, one piece that I didn't say about the federal loans is that there is a cap, right? If you ever heard about somebody like going to Mexico on their loans, like, that's not federal loans. If you're coming in as a first-year freshman with under 24 credits, you're going to qualify for a total of $5,500 worth of federal loans. That's the cap. That amount hasn't changed since I went to college back in 2005. I was offered $5,500 despite the cost of college being exponentially higher than that now, right? That's the amount you're going to be offered. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes there's this illusion that, like, I'm going to do the FAFSA and it's all taken care of. I don't have to worry about anything else after that. That's just not true, right? $5,500 only covers a quarter of what it costs to go to NDSU, right? So you have to be thinking of other things as well. So this is typically where we start talking about private loans. If you've done the FAFSA and you've done your North Dakota, your state scholarships, and you've done your institutional scholarships, and you've done your local scholarships, and you've looked at your personal savings, and you even talked to your uncle, and you're like, you've got all the money that you have together, this is what I have, and this is what is left to pay after all of that. Where do you go then? Well, typically it's going to be the private loans, right? Private loan lenders could be whatever lender you want. It could be Wells Fargo, it could be the Bank of North Dakota, it doesn't matter. There's 1,000 banks out there that are interested in loaning money to you. How do you do that process? You don't have to do anything right now. Most lenders, in fact all lenders, they don't even want you to apply for these loans until you're within a 90-day window of when your payment is going to be due. And payments for the fall semester or next year are going to be due in September. So you're really not even applying for these loans until June, which is good because then that gives you a lot of time to put together, where are all my financial resources coming from, compile all that together, subtract that amount from what your total bill is, and then how much do I actually need? Okay, this is how much I need. So you don't have to be taking out more than you actually need. You can apply for exactly what you need at that point. Okay? So what do you need to do to qualify or to look at these loans? Well, you're going to submit the FAFSA, right? That's to be considered for the federal loans. When it comes to the private loans, pretty much every single bank is going to have their own application process online. Some of them have a very streamlined process to see what you qualify for, and you can go through that process, right, of just applying and seeing what offers you have. Or a lot of them even front load what their offers are. They'll tell you what their APR is, or they'll tell you what their origination fee is, or they'll tell you what their interest rate is, and you can kind of shop around to figure out which type of loan you might want to take. And then you can review your offers. Okay, so what do you need to do? If you've been taking pictures, this is usually the one that most people want to take a picture of. So the first steps are really doing that FAFSA. NDSU has a priority deadline of February 1st, which aligns with our scholarship application deadline, just to try to make things easier. But in all reality, the sooner you get it in, the better, because the sooner we can figure out and let you know what you might be eligible for. Are you only eligible for loans, or do you also qualify for a state grant? Or do you also qualify for a federal grant? The sooner you get that in, the sooner we can give you an estimate of what you're going to be eligible for. Then you want to get out there and do those university scholarship applications, because again, they're rushing to try to get scholarship offers out to you, and the sooner you submit your application, the scholarship application, the sooner they're able to give you an offer. Okay? Then it's going to be your local and your employer scholarships, your Dollar for Scholars scholarships, all of those ones. Those ones that have a later due date, you want to get those things submitted. And then don't forget about your state scholarship that's due on June 1st. Got to make sure that that gets submitted as well. If you're looking at the dual credit scholarship, that's going to be a little bit later on, but still one to keep in mind. And then again, as you get done with all that, that's where you start saying, okay, well, do we still need to take out a loan after all this? Okay, then let's start looking at potential lenders. And then review your loan offers, and then make your decision. One thing I will say when it comes to loan offers, I get a lot of students who get kind of nervous about applying for the loan, or like wanting to get it down to like the exact dollar. You don't have to be at the exact dollar. You can apply for like this amount, right? And then when you actually know what your bill is, you can just accept this amount. You can accept less than you qualify for. You're just applying to see if you're eligible for the loan. So that's ultimately like, it doesn't matter. Like if you're within a good margin, you can always take less. This is another one that you might want to take a picture of. It's just a lot of good contact information if you have more questions about this. I'm going to go over some frequently asked questions here in a second, then I'll turn it out to you, but I will say I also have my business cards up here. If you want to take one of these, if you had some questions that maybe you wanted to ask that don't get answered tonight. Okay, so let's get into some of these questions. So first question, when do we pay for college? Do we pay as we go or do we pay at the end? It's kind of a little bit of both, and I'll explain. So you will pay every single semester. You don't pay for the year. So when we were looking at those dollar amounts, like $23,000, you don't pay that amount. You pay half. You pay the fall semester, and then you pay your spring semester. And if you have enough scholarships, financial aid, all those different things, and cash, and you can just pay for it all away, then you're just paying for it that semester, and then the spring comes around, you pay for it that semester. If you're taking out loans, you will take out those loans and you will send that loan money over to the university in the fall semester, and you'll do the same in the spring semester. But when it comes to the college loans, you won't be required to start paying back on the college loans until you're done with school. Right? So they're deferred. The payments are deferred until you're done with school. I specifically say done with school or you stop school intentionally because sometimes students will take a pause. And if you take a pause or you stop for a little while, the federal government, the private entities, they're going to say you need to start paying this money back, like within 6 months. So for instance, I went to college for 2 years. I said I'm going to take a break. I moved out to Washington State for a year. And you can be sure that, Wells Fargo was like, you better pay up. Let's go, right? So I had to start paying back some of those funds. When it came to the federal loan, I was able to say, hey, I'm going back to college. Just need a little bit more time, and they said, okay, we'll defer it for another 6 months. And then when I got back, after that 6 months, I was back in college, finished out. So there's a little more flexibility with those federal loans. But it's within 6 months, or 6 months after you're done with college, that's when you're expected to start paying your money back. Which answers that question. It's like I've given this presentation before. You're paid back when you're 6 months after you were done with school. This next question comes up quite a bit too. Is it best to first use up all the college savings and then use loans or pay as you go afterwards? Yes, with a caveat that they are truly the college savings and not like your actual savings, like your emergency fund savings. Like keep that where it needs to be. But if you have like 10 grand saved up for college, yes, by all means use those up, because when you do the FAFSA, it's going to ask you how much do you have in your bank account? How much cash do you have in your savings account? And if you got 10 grand sitting there to pay for college, well, that's an asset that you have, right? The other big thing too is that if you go to college for a year and then all of a sudden you're like, it's not for me, right? Yes, you've exhausted those funds, but you haven't incurred any origination fees on a loan, you haven't incurred any interest on a loan, and you don't have a loan to pay back, right? You're loan debt free at that point. So it's a safer idea to do this first, is to use the money that you have, versus like, I'm going to take 2,000 out this year, 2,000 next year, 2,000 next year, 2,000 the year after that. I usually suggest going more at the beginning. Do scholarships and grants go directly to the college and show us the payment? Yes. If they are, well, the grants will automatically, like the North Dakota, the federal grants go straight to the government, or straight to the financial aid office. When it comes to scholarships, if they are NDSU scholarships, or if they're North Dakota state scholarships, they will come straight to the college. If they are local scholarships, typically they're going to ask you to tell them where to send the check. So there's a little additional work you have to do. You have to say, like, this is where we're supposed to send the check, and you report that to the university so that we know to expect the check. Very few scholarships are actually going to be sent directly to you. Okay, so most of them are going to come to the college. What happens if you already paid our balance due, and then a scholarship check shows up? And this happens all the time, right? You see that the remaining balance due is, $1,000, and you pay it, and then all of a sudden, sure enough, here comes this scholarship check from some foundation, another $1,000 hits your account. We are going to refund that to you. So we'll just turn it around and we'll just give it straight back to whoever the person is that put their direct deposit. If there's no direct deposit, then we'll just issue a check and give it back to the student. Now, this is something I actually just learned. Students can, if they want to, if they check a box, say, don't give me a reimbursement. Save it for the next semester. So you can actually just go and check that box. You're not at the risk of getting $1,000 and then being like, oh my gosh, $1,000. I mean, I remember students going around like, overage check day, right? Because they were going to get $1,000 back. But you can check that box and make sure that you're not getting that money. It just stays there for the next semester. That applies from the fall to the spring, not the spring all the way back around. It just is the one term. So, but that can be a good thing for you. What can we do if our income for the current year is lower than what was reported on the FAFSA? So the FAFSA, if you do it tonight, let's just say, the tax information you're going to use is what you submitted in April of this year, which is actually the income from last year, so your income from 2024, but you're going to be going to college in 2026. What if your income level is way different in 2026 than it is back in 24, which the FAFSA was based on? Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to do the FAFSA as nothing has changed. Just do the FAFSA as normal so we have a baseline. And then, typically in April, we're going to open up something called a special circumstance form. So if there's something that's changed, and really if it's changed for the worse, right? If it's gone for the better, don't worry. Just don't say anything. Right? If it's changed for the worse, that's when we want you to submit a special circumstance form. And this isn't just like, you lost $1,000 in income. It's not that. It's typically like a substantial amount. Like you're half-time, you're unemployed, something like that, something big, or huge medical expenditures. You submit that special circumstance form, we put you in what's called FAFSA verification. We're going to require additional financial documentation from you, so it's kind of a cumbersome process, but it may result in receiving additional financial aid. Not always, right? Some people, your income is right here, and even after that loss, you're still here, but you're not down here yet. So, it all depends. There's no guarantee that doing the special circumstance form will result in more funding, but it's certainly something we want if you're feeling like you're hurting. What is the best way to pay for college for a student who will not be receiving scholarships or anything from the FAFSA? If you're not receiving scholarships or anything from the FAFSA, you're in the toughest boat. The best way to pay for college is to be working and to try to pay out of your own pocket. Try to minimize the amount of debt you're going to take out. Last thing I would advise is taking out $25,000 worth of student loans in your first year and then continuing on with that every single year. You'll leave with $100,000 worth of debt. I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend figuring out a way that you can try to minimize the amount you're going to be paying. A lot of our students, by the time they get to be, at least by juniors, have figured out a way where they can work part-time so they're at least being able to pay for their housing and their meals. So the only thing that they need to depend on scholarships and financial aid or loans to pay for is just their tuition and student fees. So at least they can balance a portion of it and reduce half of the necessary cost of going to college, right? But yes, if you're in that situation, that is a tough situation to be in. When should a student commit to a college? Most colleges share a deadline of May 1st, so this is still a long ways out. And so one of the big things is that students get a little bit worried about, can I apply? Can I do housing? Can I do a scholarship application? Can I do the FAFSA? Can I do any of these things? Yeah. We're not making anybody commit until you say, I am committed, right? May 1st is the deadline to make that choice, right? But we fully know that students, 1, should be looking at multiple colleges and shopping around, and 2, should be waiting until they get financial offers from colleges before they're really ready to decide and commit to a college. So, and slow down. I mean, certainly, some students are going to commit right away, and we'll be like, sure, you're committed. We'll see if you still are in 6 months, right? But May 1st is when we really need to know for students. Oh, there's the help page again. Okay, so that was a lot of our frequently asked questions. This is a lot of information getting thrown at you, but I would imagine some of you might have questions that you'd like to have answered that maybe I didn't get to here, or things that you'd like me to talk about. And I know everybody's favorite thing to do is ask questions in front of people, so that's why I'm giving everybody this opportunity. Okay, all right. Maybe just mulling things over a little bit, like. Trista, any questions? Was it just that thorough? It was just that good? Like, it just covered every nook and cranny? All right. Then I don't expect any emails tomorrow, all right? I can see you out there. You're already pulling out your phone, sending me an email right now. I'm just kidding. Ask questions away. This is I think a big pressure point for a lot of people when it comes to college is just figuring out the finances, and we totally get it, right? So we want to try to alleviate some of that worry, some of that mystery. I remember there's like this saying or this metaphor, like there's 2 things you never want to leave unknown. That's like medical advice and financial advice. So like never let those things be unknown. Just know what the financial costs are going to be and figure those things out. So. Well, thank you for giving up your Monday night to come out here and listen to me talk. I'll be here for, at least 10 minutes, just hanging out, in case anybody does have questions they want to come up and just ask me individually. Otherwise, my business card's up there and you can grab it and ask questions via email. All right, thanks again.
Got it all figured out.